and her mother is dating Tate's uncle, whose name is Lynch. Kind of weird, but hello and welcome to a graphic comics review. I am your host Sable, and today I will be reviewing the Starfire comic by Garcia and Gabriel Picolo. This is part of an already ongoing series. It is the fifth in the series, and I have to say that this is unfortunately the weakest. As someone who has enjoyed the series so far, I did have high hopes for Starfire. I wasn't the biggest fan of Robin's, but this one, it is 196 pages of what I consider to be filler. The character Max continues to feel very out of place. She comes across as a writer's OC, and she feels like she's just in the story to be a love interest for Damien, who I also do not agree should be in the story. Damien at this point is being shoehorned into this Titans comic, and I can't really blame them because I feel as if there may have been a push from DC to include Damien in it, only because these comics started at a time where Damien was everywhere, and I mean like inexplicably everywhere when he really didn't need to be. His inclusion in this series is really just to create tension between him and Dick Grayson. There are other ways that they could have went about doing it, but I think Damien was the easiest scapegoat to include in this comic to create issues and tension. The dialogue was questionable at times. It does feel like an older person trying to write for teenagers, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there are some jarring moments, some weird dialogue choices that feel very, very much so forced, but these are all very small complaints. Overall, I think the issue was meh. The issue was kind of bland. There wasn't a lot to go off of. This issue was really just filler for getting us to the eventual showdown now that all the Titans are together. But without further ado, let's get into the story. So Corey has EDS and she takes medication for it every day. She has a sister named Kira who is dating Tate, and her mother is dating Tate's uncle, whose name is Lynch. Kind of weird, but it doesn't really affect the story. Tate's uncle owns a pharmaceutical company and invites Corey to a EDS study. He invites both Corey and Kira to participate in the study, Corey in the EDS group and Kira in the control group. While Corey and Kira are getting tests done, it is revealed that Tate's uncle Lynch is just using this study as a ploy to get to Corey and Kira because they know that Kira has powers. Tate is also in on it, and he is using Kira to get Corey into the study as well to find out if she has powers. While at the study, Corey bumps into Victor, who we know as Cyborg, who also works at the company. Corey eventually starts noticing weird things about herself, like she was able to set things on fire and she has super fast reflexes, but she keeps this to herself. While the girls are out shopping, Tate's uncle Lynch arranges for the store to get robbed in order to pressure Kira to using her powers and to maybe activate powers in Corey as well. Kira does unleash her powers and Corey sees it for the first time, but Victor, who was meeting them there, also sees it. Now, behind the scenes, also revealed that Lynch is working with Slade Wilson, who has been tracking down the Titans throughout the entire series. Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, has been tracking down Raven, Garfield, and Damien after they escaped and destroyed one of the Hive labs. After they escape, they discover that Slade Wilson is also after Corey. The unofficial Titans, along with Dick and Max, go out looking for her to warn her about Slade Wilson. Back with the girls, Tate convinces Corey to come back to the Hive lab with him to see the training that Kira has been doing to gain control of her powers. While at the lab, Corey tries to conjure her fire, but nothing happens. She becomes dejected and she leaves. After Corey leaves, she meets up with Victor and tells him that she is suspicious about the Hive lab. Later on, Kira asks Corey if she plans on returning to the Hive for more training, but Corey says no because she is suspicious of them. The two get into an argument and Kira calls Corey jealous because she's not as powerful as her. Back at the Hive, Trigon attacks the facility base and leaves it a wreck. Kira comes the next day and sees the damage. They ask her if she plans on joining their team to fight Trigon, and she agrees. Later at a party, the sisters get into another fight and Corey storms out. While she's out, she gets hit on by a drunk partygoer who tries to grab her, and she accidentally uses her powers and sets his shirt on fire. The Titans, who have been tracking Corey down, eventually find her at this party, and Dick and Corey meet for the first time and obviously have like this love at first sight moment. The Titans warn Corey about Slade Wilson, who is coming after her, and she invites them all to her house. While at the house, Kira starts to spy on them. Corey hears Kira telling their location to Lynch, who in turn tells Slade Wilson. She warns the group, and the group sneaks out. While at a planetarium, Corey and Dick have a moment together where they agreed to take the fight to the Hive and Slade Wilson. They meet back with the other members of the group, and they all decide to take down the Hive together. And that's it. That's the end of the book, guys. Like I said, this book really did feel like filler. Other than meeting Corey, Kira, and Victor, there is no real meat to this story. It's very slow paced, and the dialogue at times starts to feel repetitive because they're just killing time until Corey unites with the group. I think Garcia meant to use the time that Corey was by herself to build that tension between her and her sister, but there wasn't really much to work with, and I think it's because Corey was just not a very compelling character. This series is loosely based on the Titans, pulls more influence from the 2003 cartoon of the Teen Titans. In the original cartoon, Starfire is very happy, she's very bubbly, she's very outgoing, she's very curious about the world, she's very brave, and she's very extroverted. This Starfire is nothing like this. She's very quiet, she's very timid, she has very much so younger sibling syndrome, which is okay. But Starfire was never a shrinking violet. And this honestly brings the story down because Starfire is the driving force behind this book. And to have a character who's just not interesting to read about really made you keep shuffling through the pages, just waiting for the Titans to show up. When the Titans do get there, the book picks up. And you can tell in the writing, you can tell in the art. I feel like Picolo loved drawing the group together. The book just feels more complete when they're all together. But until we get to this point, the book is a chore. This is a problem because Starfire is not a boring character, and her solo comics in the past were very, very good. I think the problem with this is just a deep misunderstanding of Starfire as a character. I'm not really sure why they wanted to give Starfire EDS, maybe just having some representation. But what I did not care for about giving Starfire EDS was that it only affects her for maybe the first half of the story. And it's a big plot point in the story in the beginning. After a while, we do not hear about the EDS for the rest of the book. So did it need to be in there? Don't know. But that's it. That's my review. Let me know what you think. Did you like this book? Which one should I review next?